Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Captain's Chat. My name is Joe Delagrave, one of the captains here, along with Chuck Melton. And today's guest in season 2, episode 6, is Dave Ceruti, gold medalist from the inaugural '96 wheelchair rugby competition that was held. So, really excited to talk to Dave today. Excited to talk to him about what's going on here at training camp. We're in our last day of training camp. So as always, guys, hit us up with your questions, hit us up with your comments. And it should be a great conversation for Coach Dave Ceruti, who has also been a development coach, a national team assistant coach as well. So a wealth of knowledge here from Dave, and let's get him on and get chatting. What's up, Dave? How you doing, man?
Hey, Joe.
What's going on?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. You too. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Yeah, we have one session left. So, I mean, you've been to a million of these.
Yes.
You guys are all exhausted, especially from being back for the first time in 10.5 months. But, yes, we're excited.
I'm sure it felt good to get there.
Oh, yeah, it really did. It felt like we were representing, like, everyone in the rugby community that wants to get back playing again. I know some Florida stuff might be going down in March, but so it definitely was nice to be back for sure. So how's everything been for you guys?
It's okay. You know, we're in the same boat. We're kind of playing it by ear now. Ever since last March, we never know what's going to come 3 months ahead of time. So, and nothing's set in stone yet, but we're all making it through it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Tampa wants rugby because literally if you have any sport in Tampa, they'll win a championship, apparently. So,
we've got a lot to live up to.
Yeah, for sure.
We're looking forward to getting back and finishing what we started last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now that, the vaccinations are coming out and everyone's kind of looking hopefully to a brighter future here soon, or a light at the end of the tunnel, how has the last year been for you personally, and with the pandemic and getting some stuff taken away that we're normally used to with the rugby community? It's
tough. As time goes on, you're more used to it now. Unfortunately, we're used to it.
Yeah.
Just go day by day, or week by week, month by month, and we're all seeing the news at the same time. But it's looks like it's getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel, and what you guys are doing this past couple of weeks is a big step for everybody.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure that we'll have a lot of different national teams from the USLPC reaching out about our protocols and stuff. It's really neat to be able to go through this. Testing 3 different times, all negatives, and really proud of the guys, and then of course the staff with good old dirty Jim Murdoch running the show there, and then being able to talk to the doctors at UAB, and it's been great. It's been a great to be able to do, for sure.
You guys are in great hands with the staff you have. You couldn't do it without them, and they're doing it again for you.
No, absolutely. So throughout the pandemic, have you guys been able to practice at all, or guys get together in parking garages, or I've seen some stuff from like Houston where they practice in a parking lot, or
no, we're
just kind of playing it safe.
We haven't gotten together as a team since last March, and as it is, a lot of our team is spread out now. Our Tampa Generals, we got guys all over the country, a gal in Canada, so it's tough and it's normal for us, but when we do get to go ahead, it'll be full steam ahead. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, hey, let's dive in, man. I want to talk. Love talking to you. I mean, you always have great stories and a lot of history behind you. I guess as you get older, history kind of follows you, huh?
Oh boy, the older we get, the better we were.
Yeah, no, for sure. But take me back to like when you first started playing the sport up in the Northeast.
Yeah, I'm from Connecticut, and that's where I grew up, and that's where I started playing. I got hurt in 1980, so the sport wasn't even thought. No one even knew the sport back then. I had read an article in Sports and Spokes magazine. I don't even know if they have that anymore.
Sports they're still rocking. Yeah, they're still rocking and rolling.
Correct. I was a subscriber, but I read an article about it, and just trying to, there are really no pictures or videos back then. So I'm trying to picture and try to visualize it as I'm reading it, and it sounded interesting.
Hi, Denise. I think that's Lou's mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
And there was a rehab hospital around where I am in Connecticut. It's Gaylord Hospital.
Yeah.
And there was there was a therapist there who did his internship in Dallas, and Dallas was one of the original teams. And he moved back to Connecticut, and he brought that knowledge with him. And he sent email out, and there weren't even emails back then. He said, I forgot, maybe a phone call or about prospective players, and he had a meeting there. He showed the video.
Jump on the old rotary phone. Great for
yeah, and left a message in the answering machine. And there were maybe 6 or 8 of us, and that was 1990, and this gentleman had left, and the program was just put on the shelf in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And a few months went by, and I forgot about it. And then a couple of female therapists there picked it back up, and they weren't very athletically inclined. They didn't know a volleyball from a golf ball, but I give it to them that they got together and they picked it up and they called us back. At the time, I'd moved on, and I got the call from Mary Kate, and I gave a typical response. Yeah, I'll think about it. And she would not hang up that phone until I agreed to come to one practice.
Yeah, all it takes is one practice.
And she could have easily blown it off. I could have blown it off, and I wouldn't have been talking to you today with my dad. And so she started back up, and that was, I think, again, 1990. Yeah. The horse sport had only been playing for a couple of years.
And so you start to play. When did you make the transition to Tampa? How many years? What year did you move there?
Wow, I didn't move until after the Paralympics.
Oh, you did? You're up there until through 96. Yes. Okay.
I played as a national team player when I was in the Connecticut Jammers.
Okay.
And our team had not even qualified for nationals at that point. Wow. So
how did that work out? How'd that 96 team get put together? How'd you get
in fairness to the Connecticut team back then, there was nationals. There was no D2.
Right. So everyone's going to one nationals.
It was just a 12-team nationals.
Yeah.
And if they had the rules back then, we would have been a D2 team.
Yeah.
But I had not even played for a national championship tournament, and I heard you had a Paralympic gold medal. So
you never went to nationals, but then you're like, yep, going to Atlanta, gonna go. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I wonder if there's another person like that in our sport class. I would say no.
I think I'm the answer to a trivia question.
Yeah, that's wheelchair rugby.
So I give credit to a guy like Terry Vineyard who can spot talent, raw talent, and he was the coach then. And our team had traveled, so I had been seen throughout the country, and I was invited to the tryouts and made the team in 94 and 95.
Yeah,
and then
because you had Worlds was in 95, right?
Yes.
The Worlds went 95, and then it went 98, right? And then it started on their 4-year.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we had Team USAs in 90, 93, and 94. It wasn't the World Championship, but we still went over to Europe, and we played in Great Britain at the Stoke Mandeville games.
Yep.
93, 94. I was on the 94 team. The 12-man team, same it is now. And all the best players were on the team in the country, I think. So it was good getting that experience. And I think that's when they formed the IWRF around that time. Okay. So it all started around then. And wow. Our sport hadn't even been officially in the Paralympics at that point yet.
Right.
We were still negotiating to try to get us in 96.
Trying to get in 96. Mm-hmm. Got it.
Yeah.
And an epic game like the Canada, US.
Right? Yeah. Canada, US, Aussie, New Zealand, Sweden, and Great Britain were the first Paralympics. And I'm trying to remember who was in the first World Championships. Maybe add Holland, or I think they have a team back anymore.
Holland.
Yeah. They were a decent team, but those small countries are hard to keep it going. And it's interesting when we were trying to negotiate that at the time I was on the board. I was the treasurer of the USQRA was back then. So we were negotiating with Paralympics and trying to get us in. And one of the stipulations of being a Paralympic sport is you had to have an able-bodied equivalent sport in the regular Olympics. And there wasn't. There was no rugby. There was no rugby.
Right, rugby in the Olympics. Yeah.
So they were kind of using that against not against us, but you say, well, that you got to hop through this loophole to get in. So there was talk, and it gained some ground. Back then, people don't know this. We almost changed the name of our sport.
What was it going to be changed to?
Team handball.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because there was a handball team in the Olympics.
Right.
There was talk. Our sport would not have been called rugby anymore back then.
It would have been wheelchair handball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know who. Eventually, I guess they caved in first, and they allowed us in to show the sport.
Yeah.
All these roads to Rio and Japan. We knocked those trees down to pave that road.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And I love being I love the game, and I love the history of the game, and one of those things about the history of the game is, the way the game's evolved, from a manufacturer chair standpoint, and it's also a little bit about that. I think a lot of people probably listening that are newer to rugby. I mean, the chairs are phenomenal. Vesco is making and Melrose, and so, but you guys are rolling into the gym with everyday chairs and washers. Maybe what about those chairs do people not realize? What was the equipment like?
That was in the early days, in the early 90s.
In 96, were you guys in top ends?
Oh yeah. In 95 and 96, we had specific sport chairs.
Okay.
You were either a top end or eagle. So
top end or eagle were the big.
Yeah, and even 93, 94 national teams, there was no one playing in everyday chairs back then.
Okay.
But in the early 90s, yeah. And I remember my first rugby chair was my old everyday chair. It was a quickie rigid frame chair. And I put a few washers in my chair, in my camber, in my
camber tube.
In the axle plate.
Yeah.
And I had maybe 11 degrees camber, and I thought I was the shit. Well, look at that guy go with that camber. But by 95, 96, guys had sports specific chairs back then. And so the equipment was a big difference then. And back then, over 90% of the players were spinal cord injuries.
Right.
The classification, I think players were classed a little more conservatively back then. So all in all, going back then to today, so much has changed. And then again, nothing at all has changed. It's still the same strategy. We did the same zone presses. There's only so many zones you can do with 4 players in the court. With man and key. But it's in a way it looks a lot different. In a way it looks the same.
Yeah. What would you say as far as you played at the very top, you've coached at the very top, you've coached down in Tampa. You guys have had a lot of success down there as well. I always ask this, and I'm always fascinated by it. But from a rehabilitative standpoint, this sport is phenomenal as far as a support group and getting people back into life and realizing they can do things. How has that been down in Tampa?
It's great. It's since I've been in the sport. I mean, not since I've been here back in '96. We've had guys show up to practice that weren't driving, and just seeing all of us, they went out and got a van, stuff like that, and getting new players out and just seeing them start coming with help, able-bodied help, and eventually coming on their own.
Yeah.
It's just not just the competitiveness, it's all the ancillary benefits that go along with it, the health, the psychological aspect of it, which you could attribute to yourself.
Yeah.
It's just a great sport for so many different reasons.
Yeah. And like I said, a ton of success. Like on the other side of the wall for me out there, there's the USQRA Hall of Fame wall. Your name's on there. You went in the Hall of Fame recently. Gold medal, World Championships, coach. Like what's maybe your favorite accomplishment for that you've had in your career?
Of course, on a team standpoint, winning gold in '96, and having that gold medal around your neck and hearing the national anthem played. A lot goes through your mind at that in however long it takes to play that song.
Yeah.
When you're getting ready for those games, all you can think about is that medal stand. And when the song is playing, all you can think about is your road to get there and the people that helped you along the way, and both on and off the court. And then, on a personal standpoint, making being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's but when I started playing this sport, neither of those was even in the back of my mind. It was nothing I thought about. I didn't think about national teams or Hall of Fame. It wasn't the reason I started playing. It wasn't the reason I put so much time into it. It's something I enjoy doing, and I was fortunate enough to accomplish that. And it's you individually as a person, and it's the people along the way that help you. Like I said.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you think you go back to Atlanta '96? Before that, like you said, knocking those trees down to pave the way for the Sydney and Athens, Beijing and London and Rio, and and it seems like a long time, but it's not a long time, but it's pretty amazing. But what do you think from Paralympics then in Atlanta to now, like where the Paralympic movement has gone? The notoriety it's getting. We had a Super Bowl commercial that had Paralympics in it with Toyota during the Super Bowl. Pretty fascinating there with Jessica Long. How has that changed? Where do you see it heading? Is it something that you're proud of?
Back when I made the team, and that first Paralympic team was an 8-man team.
Okay.
So it was 8 players, and
wow.
Every team before that was 12.
Yep.
So when we heard it was 8 players, and that was the biggest attended tryout because everybody wanted to be on that.
Yeah, everyone wanted. Yep.
So I remember there were 42 players at tryouts. Tryout, and we had in Colorado Springs. So you've been to many tryouts yourself, and you're competing against guys in your class. But it's an 8-man team. You're competing against everybody.
Yeah.
They might even think I'm in your class.
No kidding.
So when I made it, we get all the info from the U.S. Paralympics, and you go into the drug testing and this and that, and the training camp. You get the correspondence from the USOC and U.S. Paralympics. And then when we found out we had to buy tickets, that was just unheard of. That
Right.
we had to buy tickets for our family. And it isn't like these raffle tickets that you buy at Home Depot or Office Depot. It was you had to get it from Ticketmaster.
Yeah, you're like usually we're begging people to come to our games.
Right. And then during that summer, we already heard that the gold medal game was sold out. Wow, yeah. We're just can't. We're looking at each other like, wow, we're playing a sold out venue. And what was cool, I found being there during the games. We had our own locker room, which is cool. Stay in the Olympic Village, but there were people that just lived there that had no connection with the team, that came the first day and came throughout the whole rugby tournament. They came every game to watch, and just going out and people asking me for our autograph. That was a shocker.
You're looking behind you, you're like, wait, me? Wait, what?
I'm like, you even know my name? So I signed it. But just wearing the USA stuff is, how it feels. It's something to be proud of. That's seeing that logo in the upper right hand corner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so back when my very first tryout you were at as a coach back in December 2008.
2009. 2009.
Yeah, so December 2008 was the tryout, and then 2009 was the year that we were on.
Yes.
And then and I didn't make the final cut to go to the competition. But I remember you talking about potential and talking about, hey, come back stronger the next time. I took that to heart, and the rest is kind of history. But there's a saying that you've always said when you're coached, and talking about the good old days, and always reminding us that these are the good old days. And it's always brought up. Gumby will bring it up, and we'll bring it up sometimes, but it's always like, Rudy talking to us about the good old days, and these are the good old days. And it's true.
It is.
The pandemic has never made it even more truer, where we get an opportunity to hopefully go to the tournament in Tokyo and see this thing through. But from a true coaching perspective, what do you look at as far as players, and maybe some players coming up that want to make the U.S. level? What do you look for in a player? Is it just function? Is it effort? Is it smarts? What are you looking for?
Of course, the first thing you're going to look at is their physical. You can't help but notice that first.
Yeah.
You had the size. Yeah,
you can't teach size. That's for sure.
You can't teach size, and just going back to what you were saying about that first time you got cut. And I tell the story a lot to people. I don't know if you remember this. You were the last guy cut.
Yeah.
And at tryouts, and guys get cut, we talk to them. It was myself and Gumby in the Singleton.
Yeah. It's a very scary room. We're in the Singleton room, which is a room here where all the cuts happen. And it's you, Gumby, and is it Ed? Was Ed in there?
I can't remember. For 2019, I think it was just me and Gumby.
Yeah.
And you came in. It was after you got cut, and I told the story quite a bit. And the first thing Gumby always says is, "Do you have any questions?" Well, a lot of you, why did I get cut? Blah blah blah. And the first thing you said was, "Tell me what I need to do to get better."
Yeah,
that's what you said, and I was very impressed with that. And I didn't say it to you then. I'm telling you now, and I tell that story a lot to people. And it's a tribute to your attitude and just the way you looked at it. So that was good. So back to the question about what we look for: the physical, the demeanor on the court. You got to look at experience. It depends what we're looking. If we're looking for more developmental, if we're looking for a guy that can step in right now, and with some of these disabilities now, you can step in the first tryout and make a team now with some of these higher function disabilities.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we look at, of course, is physical, because you could have all the passion you want or desire, but if you don't have it, it's tough. And it doesn't mean you can't have a successful career, but that's the first thing I would look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after that, you look at their mental capacity for it, their temperament on the court.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What is your favorite moment? So you talked about the gold medal, and then is that the favorite moment, the anthem and everything like that, or maybe a story, maybe a favorite story from the rugby days, from the good old days?
Oh, boy, the good old days. Those are the real good old days. I mean, just when you think back at competitions and tournaments that you go to, sometimes you don't think about the actual games. You think about going out in that city and doing things and living together. And back when we were the first in 94, 95, the whole team stayed in one big room. It was, you had the whole team in one room. So you got snorers, you got guys wake up in the middle of the night, and you better be a heavy sleeper.
So was it like a big room or like a hotel room, like a double, like what?
Well, for 94, they had it in Stoke Mandeville, and I think it was an old army barracks.
Okay.
So there were literally 14 beds in one room, 7 on one side and 7 on the other side.
I can't imagine packing quads.
Oh yeah, and there were multiple countries sharing one big bathroom. So that's really rough in it. And 95 is the same thing. So, just thinking back in my Connecticut days, with the success I had national team, some of my fondest memories are with that team. The guys I started with.
Yeah.
That helped me to get to where I ended up being. That was just as much as some of the coaches that I had. It's just starting that Connecticut team up with those guys. That has a special place for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I can't get through an interview without talking baseball with you.
Here we go.
You're a huge Red Sox fan.
Guilty.
Yeah, guilty as charged. We have a little bit in common. I'm a Cubs fan. And so Theo for both of us.
I saw that.
Yeah, what's Theo gonna do with baseball? You do a little consulting with MLB. Is he gonna save the game? What's going on?
I think it's a stepping stone for him to get into politics. Maybe he can probably win Senate in both Illinois and Massachusetts.
Oh, easy. Yeah,
what he did. Yeah, the sky's the limit for him.
Made a lot of people happy.
Yeah, when you break 2 curses, you could write your own ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your favorite Red Sox team ever? Is it back from the 80s, or are you going to 04?
04 has got to be it. But again, some of those late 70 teams when I was a kid, with the Yastrzemski and the Fists and Jim Rice, just because it was a more innocent time in my life.
Sure.
It's where things seem more pure back then. But
is that back when he's waving the ball fair?
Yeah. Carlton. I remember watching that live. I remember watching that. Yeah. I just remember that.
An iconic moment in sports.
Yes. But I would say the 04 team. That's
something about the 04 team too, and being the first team to be down 0-3 and coming all the way back.
And the team we beat, the team we did it against also.
Epic.
Do it against the Yankees.
Do it against the Yankees.
We had to put an end to that curse of the Bambino.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Who's your favorite Red Sox player of all time?
Probably Jim Rice.
Okay.
Just because he was my favorite player when I was a kid. So he's, I would say, Jim Rice, and a close, probably second, maybe distant second, would be a Pedro Martinez.
Oh, good old Pedro. Good old Pedro. Yeah.
Just watch him on the mound. The way he did his craft.
Yeah.
Was impressive. That was impressive.
Filthy stuff. What about your favorite Red Sox that was a Yankee?
Oof. That was a Yankee. Used to be a Yankee.
Yeah.
There's only a few of those that came over here and did success.
Or was it? There's a lot more that went from Red Sox to being a Yankee.
Yeah, it went that. It went the other way
quite a bit.
It went the other way more often.
Yeah.
Where guys left us to greener pastures back then.
Yeah, for sure. No. It's always good to talk baseball. Just wrapping up here, we got practice here coming up soon, but I want to know what your thoughts on. You've seen a lot of change in the game, and then like you said, like I've heard Dave Wilsey say it to me before too, where a lot changes, but nothing changes.
Exactly.
But in the game, like the game's evolved, but it's still played on the court, still played 4-on-4, still key, still the same ball. You had some shot clock stuff. You had some the chairs might be a little bit faster, but where do you see the game going? Do you see some other changes in it? Do you see something that you guys talk about a lot in Tampa that say, hey, we should do this to make the game better? What do you think?
I mean, they're taught. I've heard the rumors like you have. I heard they're trying to even speed it up even more. Maybe cut the half court time to 10 seconds. There's talk about that. They've already dropped the quad out of USQRA. It's not quad rugby anymore.
Yeah.
There are a lot of us still left involved in the game. It just keeps getting faster. Just like the major sports in NFL and NBA. The guys keep getting bigger and faster.
People find a way to get bigger and faster.
I'm telling you, and who knows where it's going to be in 28 and 32? Who knows?
It'll be very interesting to see. I know a lot of talk has been about the timeout situation, like too many get out of jail free cards, 4 timeouts in a game, and cutting those. That might be some top level rugby. There's just not a lot of turnovers.
It's an offensive game. It's an offensive game, and that's what's when we do get fans, that's what they like. They like to see the speed up and down the court. They like to see Aoki and Bat going up and down the court. They're not paying tickets to see Dave Ceruti pushing up down the court.
Hockey style subs, that would be crazy.
Oh boy,
it would be crazy. It would be a cluster.
That would be a whole strategy in itself.
It would be kind of neat.
I'm timing that one.
Yeah, timing it poorly, and everyone just crashes into each other. Hang down.
What can go wrong?
Goal corners are faster than yesterday. Yes, absolutely. Mason, you still getting fouls for contact and reaching? Well, reaching contact probably be USQRA wise, USWRA I should say, I guess. But yeah. But well, anyways, Dave, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for your insight, for what you've done in the sport as a Hall of Famer, as a coach, as a player. Definitely appreciate you. And yeah, O'Neill's like, Mason, stop reaching. Yes, absolutely, stop reaching. But as a closing, any tips for athletes that want to get better? Anything that any words of advice from a wise man such as yourself?
Boy, just keep playing. What if another saying I like is, if you see a player who's trying to aspire to the next level, when you're at tournaments, just watch games, watch someone who's in the same class as you. The old saying, if you want to do what I do what I do.
I like that. Yeah.
And another one I like put, and it applies to anything in life, is you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
It's and I think I've heard you say on other chats and stuff is, you don't have to make that national team level to have an impact. It's
100%. 100%.
it's a sport. The sport is great for everyone.
Yep.
Whether you're playing club level, you're playing D1 or D3, with D3, it's the same sport.
Yep.
It has the same benefits, and of course, it's everyone's goal to make that level. But the work you put into it will still make you a better player if you don't make it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're going to be a lot more independent and a lot more healthy. And yeah, absolutely. That's great. Those are great words. Coach Ceruti, appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's great to see you.
And I think it's great what you're doing with these. I commend you on it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're a great ambassador to the sport, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. I think it's going to be great things.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, Coach Ceruti. Appreciate it.
Okay.
It's been great. Everyone, we'll see you next week.
And you give my love to all the boys.
I will do. Absolutely. 100%. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Joe.
You guys see you next week.